Speedsters are some of the coolest characters in all of fiction, but also some of the worst written characters of all time. When a character can move faster than time itself, bad writing can become pretty obvious very quickly, no pun intended. So today, let's just break this down. How to write a perfect speedster. In this video, I'm going to be using examples of what works and what completely will destroy the story. The first thing I want to talk about is speed limits. The biggest mistake with speedsters is their limitless speed. If your character can react, think, and move infinitely fast, there's no tension at all. This is where many versions of The Flash, for example, struggle. One episode, you'll find him outrun death itself. And then the next episode, you'll literally see him get punched up by a regular person. That inconsistency right there kills the stakes of the character and the story. A good example, however, would be Dash from The Incredibles. He's fast, but not unstoppable. He can get tired, he can slip up sometimes, and he can also mess up. These are some clear limits that can actually create real danger for the character. The next thing I want to talk about is the cost. Great speedsters should genuinely pay a price for being fast. A bad example of this is, well, speed that's just free. No consequences, no price to pay, no exhaustion. This turns speedsters into a cheat code. This turns the speedsters into literal gods. They are too overpowered. However, a good example of a speedster paying the price is Quicksilver from the original X-Men, Red Rush from Invincible, and probably Metro Man from Megamind. As their perception of time can isolate them, they experience the world alone in their perception while everyone else is pretty much frozen. Their powers are top tier, amazing, but can also make them emotionally distant to the rest of the world. That right there is a very good price to pay for a speedster, in my opinion. When the speed changes how a character experiences life, that is when it becomes very interesting and you can kind of relate to them in a way. The third thing I want to address is speedsters should not solve everything. If super speed can fix every problem, your story is pretty much broken. There's no need for the story. This is another issue with poorly written speedsters. Because you can literally just say, if they are that fast, why don't they just do this, or that, or this? A good example of a speedster who can't solve everything but has super speed is A-Train from The Boys. He's very fast, but he's not skilled at all. He's not disciplined, and he's kind of reckless. His speed can create problems instead of solutions. And especially with his heart problem, that is a big factor into how much he uses his speed, that can add a lot more problems than solutions, which can actually add more conflict instead of removing the conflict, which is, in my opinion, is a very clever way of a speedster. This is why all speedsters should always have some sort of challenge that their speed cannot fix. And the last thing I want to talk about is the character first and their power second. The best speedsters should never be defined by their speed, but their actual character, their personality. The bad speedsters in fiction, they only exist to run fast. However, a good example of a great speedster is Barry Allen from the CW show in the earlier stages of that show. When he's written as a smart forensic scientist at first, who also has problems to deal with himself, like he's literally just a regular, normal person, and then he becomes a hero secondly. But if he can be separated from being a hero speedster and Barry Allen, that is a very good thing, as he is not generally defined as a speedster. He can also be defined for being himself. Another example actually could also be Sonic the Hedgehog, whose speed reflects his carefree and impulsive nature. So yeah, when speed is an extension of who the character is and not a replacement for it, then the character works. So yeah, in conclusion basically, the perfect speedster should have limits, should have consequences, and should have problems that the speed that they have cannot fix. And they should never ever break the story or ruin the story. They should actually challenge the story. The speed is not the power, their restraint is. That's how you write a speedster that actually works, in my opinion. If you have a favourite well written or horribly written speedster, let me know in the comments below. And yeah,